will now be called to order. You want to just do a roll call? Usually city administrator does the roll call. Yeah.
Okay. Roll call.
So you'd be looking,
Acting Mayor.
Here.
Conti. Councilor Camara.
Here.
Councilor Long.
Here.
Assessor Chairman Richard Gonzalez.
Here.
good. Try to make sure you get, yep, professional. It says open meeting law. I don't have it, but I think I memorized. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this meeting or may transmit this meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Approval of the minutes of the Thursday, October 17th meeting. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by
Second.
Councilor
Second.
Long, seconded by Councilor Camara. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next order of business is for 1082 Duval Street, Fall River. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Marasco, if you'd like to brief the TIF board and then
Yes.
do the introduction with the representatives of the company who are here as well. You can just state your name and address for the record as well as you do your presentation.
So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the TIF board, as well as double-hatted city administrator and CFO, Mary Sahadi. I'm here on behalf of the Redevelopment Authority, acting in capacity as the city's Economic Development Director, to present a TIF for personal property for Sexzetta Incorporated. This is one of those special opportunities where it's a public-private partnership, the private part being Alan Macomber introduced the company to the city. The city, in turn, met with the company to discuss what incentives were available for the company to relocate its headquarters from Rhode Island to Massachusetts. The company is a cybersecurity company with 23 employees, which will relocate to Massachusetts. In addition, that they've promised the job creation of an additional 70 full-time permanent jobs. As you may know, the process was initiated by the company sending a letter of intent to the office of the mayor. That was done in compliance with the statute on October the 18th. We, in the city of Fall River, are very flexible and very accommodating and welcoming to businesses that wish to locate in the city, and although they missed the state deadline, we were able to convince the state to accept their preliminary application past the deadline. We're very fortunate that the state's initial review team passed the application through to the supplemental stage. And so we worked quickly together. I want to beg your indulgence for a couple of changes in numbers, but I also want to thank Mary for her participation in reviewing all these numbers under the shortened timeline. But the company was able to, again, meet the supplemental deadline by November the 6th. However, I want to let the city know that in order for the company to receive state incentives, the state is now requiring for the city to also participate and give a TIF for a special tax assessment in some form. In this particular instance, the company is leasing the property and there will be no significant real estate improvements. Therefore, a TIF on real estate is not the appropriate vehicle. However, the company is going to tell you about themselves and also tell you about the amount of equipment that they will invest. So in this particular instance, I am suggesting that this board consider a TIF on personal property. The statute does allow it. There is precedence in other communities under which they've given a TIF on personal property only. And I think that is probably the best launching point for me to let Sexzetta and their representative, Jason Hobart, talk about who the company is and what they do why they're interested in locating in the city of Fall River, why they're interested in making an investment in the city and also in workforce development. But before I introduce you, Jason, I'd like to just quickly introduce Sam Delaire. She represents the consultant who was working on this, and I think I just want to have her tee it up because tee up her client. That's all right with you.
Thank you very much for today, Mr. Mayor, members. Again, my name is Samantha Delaire. I'm the Executive Vice President of Mass Ignite. Mass Ignite is a nonprofit organization founded by former Senate President Therese Murray to help encourage businesses to locate or relocate in Massachusetts. In particular, during her tenure as Senate President and beyond that, we focused on working with companies to bring them into cities that aren't Boston-centric, like Fall River, that has so many opportunities for workforce development, so many opportunities to bring a new industry into the area. So we were very excited when Saxada came to us and asked us for our help. Maria has been wonderful in helping us along with this process, as well as Senator Rodrick's. And we're very excited to hopefully have Saxada come in and be part of Fall River's economic development.
So would you like to introduce Jason?
Jason Hobart is the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Saxada. And I will just leave that at you, and you can do your presentation.
Sounds good. I appreciate everyone's time. Maria, thank you. Samantha, Mr. Mayor, and members of the board. We're excited to be here, but more importantly, we're excited that you've worked in a truncated timeline to help us. So we've got some exciting things going on. We recently took funding, I think, as you may or may not know. So back in August, we were lucky enough to get our Series A awarded to us, which is why we're here today. We're using the funding to address the growth that we're expecting to hit. We're using the funding to look at and consider, and very excited at the opportunity and the incentives that Massachusetts and specifically Fall River would afford us. We believe that it's a great opportunity for us both as an organization, but specifically being a cybersecurity software company. Massachusetts is very cybersecurity friendly, very focused on that as just a state in general. And we see Fall River as an excellent landing point and home for us, for our people, and to become part of this community and really build our company and our brand here as we consider moving back to Massachusetts. I'll jump right into the presentation because I think this will help us with the conversation, and I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing. At a high level, you can read this kind of sentence here. You know, we really focus on non-employee identity risk and lifecycle management. Really, the way we equate that to is in the industry, from a large enterprise, small enterprise, public, private sector organizations, they have a very large department, typically a budget, a software application, all dedicated to employees. It helps them bring employees in. It helps them manage those employees, grant them access, and this is the important piece. They can grant access and remove access for employees very easily. When it comes to non-employees, because it's more distributed, it's lines of businesses, it's different departments and different functions who are using and leveraging non-employees, contractors, independent contingent labor, temporary staff in government and public sector, a lot of volunteers. Those people are still being given access and emails and all of the things that potentially pose a risk to any organization from a cybersecurity threat perspective. We manage those people. Our software application, for a lack of a better term, is like an HR application with a keen eye towards cybersecurity and protecting organizations' assets, both physical and network-based. So who we are as a software company focused on filling that gap in the industry today. Our products really are designed for organizations of all size and of all industries to make the business process easier, right? So who are the people I'm hiring? What information do I need to know about them? So we have an application that allows them to create a business process to collect that information, forms, fields, approvals, and all that. And then we have a product that extends that to those third parties. So really giving organizations a better management control of the people that they're allowing to come into their company. We've been in business since 2006, but really the product was born and created over the last 3 to 5 years and working with a lot of our customers And that product is really where we're taking the investment, and that's the piece of our business that we're focused on. We spend a lot of time considering locations, right? Do we stay in Rhode Island? Do we look at Mass? Fall River is extremely appealing and exciting for us for a multitude of reasons. Obviously, the incentives are great, and we're excited about that, and we think, you know, that's the kind of thing that will really push us over the edge, but we really look at Fall River from a geographical perspective. So all within kind of an hour drive of downtown Boston, reverse commute, we can draw really good talent, both from university as we get young talent coming out that are tech savvy, but as well as some of the more senior individuals. I run sales and marketing. You know, we're hiring a lot of people within Massachusetts with extremely strong background in marketing and sales. We have a large engineering pool that we're pulling from the universities, and so we saw Fall River both from a geographical perspective, but specifically a time for commute and being a reverse commute for many of the individuals that we'll be hiring. Obviously, real estate is very costly. There's a lot of what I'll call kind of oversaturated markets. Fall River is extremely attractive, both from the location, but also just the real estate that's available to us in a lot of the locations, and we'll talk specifically about the one that we're most excited about. And then, of course, the future of the MBTA coming into Fall River, we think really could help us to be one of those leading software companies that helps drive and cultivate more of a tech hub, tech center type hiring and from a company perspective. We're looking at 1082 Duval Street. We're excited about it because it's kind of an open space. It's a blank canvas, if you will. Put a lot of money into building out enough space for us today, but having enough space to grow in the future. So we have the ability to kind of expand up to 10,000 square feet. That is extremely appealing to us as we talk about the numbers about people we'll talk about in a second. But it's kind of that great location, a good restaurant right off the water, right off the highway. Again, open canvas, so we're going to spend a lot of money and invest in our people and in the infrastructure within the building to really create that startup mentality, that startup vibe, really drive that more of a community culture from an employee perspective. So get people in the office, get people really becoming part of, going out to restaurants, becoming part of, you know, the Fall River community. So that's what we're looking to do. We're in negotiations today to finalize a lease, right? With the excitement that we're seeing and the support and the help from folks like yourself, and just the general enthusiasm that we feel both from at the state level as well as the Fall River level to really bring us in. So we appreciate that, and we certainly see that. Getting into a little bit about the numbers. So we sit at about 31 employees today. Our plan is to continue to hire between now and the end of the year. We're going to land at 40. Our CEO sends his regrets. He actually wanted to be here today, but he's actually in Massachusetts looking and interviewing a few candidates for CFO perspective. So we are out there on a daily basis trying to bring that number up. So we expect to be at 40 by the end of this year, and then counting out next year 70. So we'll be at 70 full-time employees, the bulk of which will be located here in Massachusetts. A bulk of our existing employees plan to move to Massachusetts as part of our move. So not just the physical location of our office, but there's a handful of people that are planning to make that move as well over time into Massachusetts. And I guess we are hiring across the board, right? So I talked about CFO, but it's management, it's engineering, so tech savvy, young individuals coming out of the university. It's sales and marketing, and the talent pool in Massachusetts will afford us, I think, to hit these numbers, if not exceed these numbers. So we're excited about that opportunity.
Nick, any questions? Council Long?
You're going to double the size of your company in 2 years?
Yeah.
More than double.
Huh?
It's more than double.
I know, it's big. Now, when I look at this agreement, I mean, maybe you can, we don't usually do personal property taxes.
Right.
So that's kind of concerns me, but when I look at this, we go from $195,000 in personal property in 2021,
Right.
and then in 2025, that number becomes $335,000. God, that's a lot of personal property. what does the personal property consist of?
So we break it obviously into 3 buckets. We have a large number of employees, which means a lot of equipment that we will be requiring to buy, to supply for our employees. Obviously, the build is a net new build for us, so there's a significant investment in the building itself in
Right,
terms
but
of.
That is not, we're just talking about the
Oh.
equipment.
Personal
The
property side.
Personal property only, so equipment, machinery, computers,
Yes,
your things that create your software. I think for members of the board, that the investment in the building was going to be year one flatline and just, and not, again, as I mentioned earlier, not the appropriate vehicle for a long-term TIF, where we had them investing a significant amount in the equipment that is actually going to support and create those jobs.
All right. Richard, do you want to speak to the furniture and fixture and
Yeah,
items that are excluding
Yeah, under the,
personal property if you're incorporated in Massachusetts?
Right.
Just so you're clear on
Yeah.
what is actually TIF-related and which assets are not TIF-related.
so when I look at this Form Exhibit 1,
It's in the EDIP application.
EDIP.
So, Steve, it's probably in there.
Under, do you have a copy of this on the Exhibit 1?
I don't have it right in
Going.
front of me, but, yep.
There's a piece that I'm concerned with.
Pass that down to Jason.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Apologize.
As Mary had mentioned, furniture and fixtures, if you are incorporated in the state of Massachusetts, you're gonna be only liable for machinery and equipment used in the conduct of business.
Yep.
So you're not gonna pay us on furniture and fixtures.
Right.
So your desks, your chairs, your filing cabinets, that's all gonna be exempt
Yep.
from us. But reality is you're gonna be paying a corporate excise.
Yep.
The second thing is the building renovation, the $100,000. That's part of the building rental. That's
It's not.
personal property. That's gonna
No.
be
Right.
an investment
Yeah,
in the real, right?
right, and we're not, and the recommendation was not to include it as the request for the incentive, for the
Okay.
city incentive.
All right.
So I have a question. So what if they register as a foreign corporation? Is that still the same?
If they're not registered in the, foreign corporations
Yeah,
are fine.
foreign.
If they're paying a corporate excise to the state of
They
Massachusetts,
don't pay the,
they don't pay the furniture and
okay.
fixtures.
So we don't know that answer, do we, Jason, or do we? You're a Rhode Island company,
Correct.
correct? So you're probably registered as a foreign corporation in Massachusetts and/or will be,
Yep.
right?
I don't know the answer for sure.
Okay.
It sounds right, but I don't have that answer now.
So the issue becomes, just so you're aware, is that each year you would file a list
Yep.
of those assets within the assessor's office here. And that's where this TIF would be generated from.
Right.
Each year, those assets depreciate, so your value of those assets are gonna decrease. And then, historically, it looks like your intention is to add to the base of those assets. So each year, the assessor's office, the assessor himself would go out and do a review of those assets, value those assets, and that's what the TIF would be created on. So this calculation here, the 295 to the 500, may or may not be what this TIF is ultimately going to be provided to your company. Working with Mr. Gonzalez and the list of the assets that were, I think, provided by the accountant? Is that who we got that list
Yes.
from initially?
And I will,
That list is clearly showing an amount significantly less than what's here on this application. Because if you pull out the furniture and fixture and you pull out the real property leasehold improvements,
Yep.
neither one of those, assuming you're a mass corporation, would be included in the computation. So I just
Just the
so that
machinery
everyone
and
here
equipment.
Yes,
is aware.
absolutely.
Yep. Yeah,
That
the
this-
investment in that equipment for
That
our product
includes
purposes, for building
furniture
out
and fixtures.
and continuing to invest in a lot of the equipment that our team needs in order to test the product, develop the product. There is a significant amount of software that we have to purchase as part of the equipment,
Right.
that needs to support that software. So there is a significant investment in equipment specifically and hardware specifically for the build-out of our product and the growth of our product. as
And
we
if
go
this
forward.
board voted the TIF, that's what it would be included on. I just didn't want anyone around the table making an assumption that it would look like $54,000 tax incentive when we don't know what that tax incentive is going to
It's,
be.
it's that middle line item on this spreadsheet, the
So what-
145,000.
Right,
over
so-
the course of the
It's just 36,000.
What you have revised in front of you, Mary, which is the calculation based upon with taking out the real property, but to your point, it includes machinery and computers, a total investment currently of $185. But it also includes the additional investment of $155 of furniture and fixtures, which at this point, we believe are going to be tax exempt, but we're not.
We don't
We don't
know
know.
yet, right.
So, to the, for the.
Well, they have to,
They have to
they
make
would
the
have to,
list.
right, the
They
foreign
qualify for
company
it,
not
companies now, it
filed
doesn't work.
Massachusetts, they're gonna be taxed.
So your TIF agreement does provide, no, your TIF agreement provides for taxation on all taxable personal property. And this spreadsheet is merely an estimate of what that would be. And to Mary's point, and thank you very much, Mary, and the judge for participating in making this agreement, revising this TIF agreement for the city, contemplates the company complying with filling out the ST2 form and meeting the requirements of filing on an annual basis. So the agreement does recognize that they have to report to you exactly what is taxable. So at the spreadsheet, again, is the estimate based upon the numbers presented today.
All right, just so you guys are aware, I'm not sure if you were in the process. Once the TIF board approves or disapproves this goes to the city council for the city council's approval. So you have another couple steps to go through to
Right,
get there.
of course.
I guess my only question is, your big, I guess, presentation with respect to getting the TIF is for your personal property investment. Has nothing to do with your build-out costs, it's your personal property investment, which is your computers, your software, and all that other stuff.
Yep.
Do you have a list of exactly what this investment's going to be from your perspective? Or
I
is
don't-
it unknown at this point?
I don't have a list now. We do. I mean, we certainly have looked at these numbers and what does it entail? I mean, we're basing all of this on our expected growth, right? Our known products, and that's how we come up with these numbers in terms of, where we're going based on the numbers that we presented.
But I guess my question is, I'm trying to, you came up with a number based on just some kind of an analysis
Yep.
that you do internally, which is fine. I'm not discrediting that
Yeah.
process. What I'm looking for, I guess, from my perspective is, you're having a list of personal property items that you are going to be excluded from paying taxes on. So I guess what I'm trying to find out is what exactly are those specific personal property type items that you are coming to the city to not pay taxes on for a 5-year period. That's what I guess I'm looking for and was hoping to see in a presentation of this sorts.
And this is the only thing we requested of the city, based upon what the state requests. And to your point, if you want more detail, that this is a good opportunity to get all the information that this board
So
wants.
here's what I think, it's not only this board, right? The Fall River City Council is going to need to, they're gonna be asking these same questions.
Yep.
Okay, the council's gonna wanna say, you're looking at it from, you're gonna be looking at over a 5-year period, $185,000 of machinery. If I'm on the city council and I was in this TIF board meeting, I'm gonna say, can you break down what $185,000 investment's going to be? So I don't personally, while I commend you and I wanna see you grow here, and I think it's great for Fall River, I want to present this to the city council in a way that it's thorough and they have a full understanding of what they're going to be voting on. Because today, if I'm sitting in the city council's point of view, I'm not going to approve this because I don't have enough information. And if you need more time to get us what the machinery is and what the fixtures are versus and break that down, I think that makes the most sense. So that's going to be my position as we go forward. I'm not in favor of supporting this at this
My
point.
situation is on the personal property, first when it was put in, when I was looking at it, was there is an exemption, so we've already gone through that. But the other part of that is the depreciation of personal property as you're moving forward. When we look at this, it assumes that we're gonna have a tremendous addition in personal property. And the TIF starts at 100%, 90%, 80% going down. But when I look at it, and I look at the depreciation going back in, that type of stuff, what's gonna happen is these numbers, just, I just find them hard to believe.
I think,
And I think what happens is, in 5 years, they won't pay any taxes. That's just my opinion. So, I don't know how you're coming up.
That's the standard.
$335,000 after 5 years, when you start with 195, you got 335 at the end, it's 200, $135,000
Okay.
additional? What
So
happened to
this-
the depreciation?
okay, so
if
I
I
was-
may,
I'm
I think, Steve, that
City
if you look at how many people he's looking to employ throughout the years,
Yeah.
they're gonna be adding to the personal property tax. They're gonna be buying more equipment and more.
That's a lot of people, that's a
Well,
lot of
it
property.
is. It's
So how much property for one
almost twice as much
employee?
what they have now. So I think if you're looking at the numbers increase, the reason would be if they get 40 more employees over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, do you have to buy the equipment, computers, personal computers, software, all the stuff that will accommodate those employees? That's how I see it. So I
me, I'd
can
like
see
to
it
see
grow.
what
and
the
that's-
average
I understand exactly what
employee
you're saying.
cost would be.
If you keep the same
Each
amount of
employee has
equipment.
$5,000 worth of equipment? Okay, I get it.
Correct. So
You know what
so
I'm
that's
saying?
what they're looking at. That's why you see the number growing. Because through the years, if you're adding more employees, there's gonna be more
Yeah,
equipment to
but
go.
the thing is, personal property, the depreciation's like.
I understand.
blows up, doesn't it?
Let me interject on
To
one
some
what I
second.
extent, it depends
Mr.
on.
Gonzalez?
Let me interject with the personal property. I think Steve brings out a good point with the depreciation. But what happens is, to me, that's only gonna cut down on what they save from the TIF. Because we're basing the TIF on a percentage.
Correct.
So if the percentage is 100,000, it's
80%.
80%. If it goes to 50,000, it's gonna be less than that. The city in the long run doesn't lose anything in terms of, because if they were not getting the TIF, the depreciation would be given anyways, because it's based on the age and life of the asset.
Correct.
It's different than a house. It's based on, see, a house
Service.
appreciates.
Right.
These type of items depreciate. So I'm not hung up on that. I'm just, I would like some safeguards in there. The fact that every year we get to go out there, and we do by statute, they submit a form of list, and we review it. And then we determine the value of the items.
I'd like to, for the board, this form and this method of approaching a TIF, whether for real estate or personal property, is no different than it has been since you did the first Amazon. The form presented is a flat line, and okay, because I've been doing this for 5 years on behalf of the state. The form presented says, what is your investment, okay? No increase for Prop 2.5. Typically, all your TIFs in the past have included real estate and/or personal property, but they're flat line, right, and they're based upon a projection. So the TIF itself, the actual numbers of the TIF, is reflected every year when you send out, the assessor sends out the real estate tax bill, or the assessor sends out the ST2 and they complete it. So, this is nothing new.
I
The
agree.
only thing is new, the only thing that is new is that we're pulling out the real estate, and because it's a lessee, making a one-time build-out, being a 13.9% owner of the real estate, where it is somewhat impractical for them to do it. And I appreciate the need for the city council to have all the detail, and I just want to restate that we did it under a truncated situation. The Economic Assistance Coordinating Council has preliminary approved this application. They are, no pressure, acting mayor, but they were hoping for a decision from the city council no later than December the 4th. So if there's an ability to accommodate your schedule, your city council schedule, as well as get the information.
I think that's impossible, because I don't think we meet until after December, because we have a meeting till,
Okay.
today's
So-
the city council's last meeting till after Thanksgiving,
Okay,
after
Right.
December.
Well, you said December, right?
Right.
yeah,
The
the
council president,
December the
Before we
4th.
meet.
the
So-
council president would need to call a special meeting.
Yeah,
17th.
Is that the only one?
So there's no
So-
comments.
Say the third?
So,
Next meeting's the
okay.
fifth.
The
They're
third.
going on the
There
3rd,
is a
but
meeting
did we
on the
change
third.
the one for today from the 3rd?
No, we changed last Tuesday, next Tuesday's
Okay,
meeting.
so just put everything on the table, this company is, in order to go before the state to determine whether or not they would be eligible for state tax credits, which in turn may or may not affect their decision to come to Fall River. We need to establish a timeline when if this board so chooses to
My point
recommend
is-
to the city
is
council.
I'm absolutely in favor of this, I'm not against this, but I just think, and the numbers don't matter because of what Rich said, but I'm not sure if these, I want them to be clear that if we don't do the personal property to 195,000 and it's 110, that's $6, it's not real money. It's money to us, it's just numbers on a page. So that number at the end of the year might be $3,000. So I don't really know, so if at the end of 5 years, you've only got $110,000 of personal property, and you're gonna be paying 60% of the taxes due on the 110, it's not gonna be $6,000, it's gonna be a lot less. And that's all I'm saying, I want everybody to be clear that
Yeah.
those numbers are gonna go all over the place.
Absolutely.
Because I don't
Right.
see that happening, I just don't see that number happening.
The other thing, Marie, I don't know if you want to speak to, we did rewrite on behalf of the city this TIF agreement from other TIF agreements, so there are a number of protections that were put into this TIF agreement for the city that haven't been written in some of the older TIFs.
And that would be the amount of employees, right?
No, in terms of the personal property, if they move it back out of the city, what the clawback clauses are, et cetera.
We'll put the grant back for the number of jobs created. We're talking-
Those types of
But
provisions within the TIF did not exist in the older TIFs.
Right, and it's really dependent, the city under this agreement has 100% reimbursement if they don't meet these deadlines. The state has changed, you probably weren't previously aware of this, but in 2016, the state changed its EDIP program, wherein if a company does not make the 100%, let's say they promised 10 jobs and they only deliver 9, the state no longer will disqualify a company. All they will do is prorate that company and reduce those credits by 10%. This is obviously something that the city council may wish to consider in the future. However, at the present moment, the proposal before you is to meet their job projections as proposed, as 93 total by the end of year 5, and failure to do so would be under the agreement, 100% return of that foregone taxation to the city. So if nothing else, Mary is right, the protections are in there, and it's actually tougher than the state requires.
All right, and there's no additional questions, we'll just decide whether or not you want to accept this TIF in its current presentation to send over to the city council. Is there any other questions?
Are we gonna do it with these numbers? or-
It doesn't matter, the number's gonna change.
Yeah, the numbers are gonna change.
But that's
They'll
the same.
change based on the list every year
Which is-
annually when they're presented and the
So the
assessor
the
looks
percentage is
at the
basically what we
value of the
approve.
property.
So the only thing we're
I'll-
approving is the percentage that they're gonna,
That's correct.
Correct.
I'm good with that.
So I'll make a motion to move it forward to the council. I would adhere to what the council, the acting mayor had said, to provide more additional information, because some councils are going to want it, myself included, and it's something that you should have, if
Just
you
to-
can do it.
just so everybody
Prior
understands
to
what
the
we're
mayor.
doing.
So make it a lot easier.
So just talking a percentage of
All right.
whatever taxes due.
Correct.
Motion made by...
Motion made.
Second,
John.
second.
Motion made by Councilor Kamara, seconded by Mr. Gonzalez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I opposed. The ayes have it. All right, there's no further business, any new business before this body? Hearing none, any old business? Motion to adjourn has been made by
So moved.
Councilor Long, seconded by Councilor Kamara. All those in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. See ya.